Board Member Gervais. Board Member Guevara. Board Member Mendoza. Board Member Nowakowski. Board Member Pastor. Board Member Stark. Vice Chair Waring. Chairwoman Williams.
Here. The next thing is the minutes of the Park Central Community Facility District of December 12, 2018. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I believe that's all that's on our agenda for today. So we are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's a motion.
Oh,
Number 4.
Oh, the resolution, just that little thing? Okay. We have a resolution to adopt ordering the preparation of a feasibility study relating to the acquisition, construction, and financing of a parking garage in the district, calling a public hearing on such project and the feasibility thereof, and authorizing related actions. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chairman, we have a motion to adopt resolution number PC 02.
And a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously, and I believe Councilman Nowakowski is on the phone, correct? Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I want to give Ed Zucker a service award for 25 years of dedicated service. He is an outstanding city manager, and would you all give him a round of applause, please? Now I will officially call the meeting to order. Would you do roll call, please?
Councilman DeCiccio. Here. Councilwoman Guevara.
Here.
Councilwoman Mendoza.
Here.
Councilman Nowakowski.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor. Councilwoman Stark. Vice Mayor Waring.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Here. Mr. Barajas, would you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Mary. My name is Mario Barajas. I'm going to be serving as today's interpreter, and I'm going to be making a brief announcement in Spanish. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Mario Barajas. Yo voy a estar sirviendo como el intérprete de español. Si alguien desea el servicio de un intérprete, favor de pasar hacia atrás y preguntar a cualquier miembro del personal de la ciudad para que le entreguen los aparatos, los audífonos para escuchar la interpretación. Gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I have a point of privilege?
You may.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all you've done as our interim mayor for the last, I can't remember how many months you've been interim mayor, but it has been a privilege to serve with you as our interim mayor. I'm excited to see you back in District 1. As we always joke, you're coming back to the good side. But I do want to say that I am really pleased in what we've accomplished during your short term as our mayor. Thank you for everything you've done.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd also like to say something.
Vice Mayor?
So, Mayor, I just want to say thank you for a great job. Deb said it's been months. It probably feels like decades to you, so the way some of this has gone, but we had great accomplishments. I appreciated the way you treated me both personally and also obviously professionally, but I could not have asked for anything more. I'm very glad that, frankly, I voted for you, and I think you did a great job under tough circumstances, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor?
Councilman?
Thank you. I mentioned it yesterday at the council meeting, but I'll mention it again today. For those that haven't been here, she's done an exemplary job as mayor. She filled in the spot when she needed to. She pushed agendas. We didn't always agree on things, but we've known each other for probably 30 years now, so we have a, brother-sister relationship. Is that all right?
You're kind.
No, we've known each other for that long of a period of time, and we've just had a great relationship. I see ex-Councilwoman Maria Beyer here as well. You know, and you've just done an exemplary job. I mean, you really have. You've pushed things. You've stayed diligent. You've been one of the most persistent people I've ever met. And because of that, I think we're a better city, and thank you for all that you've done, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I will tell you, it has been my honor and a real privilege to serve in this capacity, and I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to do that. Councilwoman?
Hi, Mayor. How are you? You excited today?
I am. Well, I will be in about, hopefully, 2.5 hours.
Hopefully. Well, we'll see. I don't know. We have a large agenda. Mayor, I just want to thank you for leading us and being courageous and taking on items that we needed for the city and to move the city forward. I really appreciate, if anything, you supporting me in many of some of the items that you will see coming through the budget, but I really appreciate you supporting me with those items because of community input and really listening to the community. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your cookies. I wasn't there, but enjoy.
Thank you.
And I'll see you soon on the other side.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. That's so sweet. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well earned.
We will now go to citizens' comments. Each person gets 3 minutes. We have a total of 15 minutes allowed. Anyone who doesn't make it, we should. I think we got the right amount of cards, but if not, at the end of our agenda, we also allow additional time for citizens' comments. Taryn Conover.
Good afternoon, Phoenix City Council members. My name is Taryn Conover. I am a Christian, a wife, and a mother, and I come before you today to plead with you to do something more than what you are about the precious children that are being killed in our state. As a woman, I've heard many objections propagated in the media and on the street that attempt to justify the taking of their lives. One of the most common things I hear is that abortion is a women's issue, and so men should just stay out of the whole conversation. It's about the woman's body, her rights, her health care, and it's her decision. There are many different variations of this idea that pro-choicers and feminists have popularized in our culture. Maybe you've heard it expressed this way: no uterus, no opinion. Can't have children, you don't get a say. Men have no right to talk about abortion, or even better, stop mansplaining to me. All of these expressions are already ironic to me because they usually come from the mouths of the same people that believe gender is nothing more than a fluid social construct anyway. But respectfully, I ask that you allow me the opportunity to address this ridiculous claim that only women can speak against injustice, because that's what we're talking about here. Injustice is injustice, regardless of someone's sex and biological makeup. Ladies, if you saw a man in public beating on a little boy, would you try to stop it? Or would your gender disqualify you from any protest because you don't have male genitalia? Of course it wouldn't, because it does not matter whether you're a man or a woman. A child is being violated and having things done to their body that shouldn't be done. Your concern would be for the victim being violated and not the gender of the one assaulting them. That's why, as a woman, I can say that a man has every right to stand where I do today and declare the absolute injustice of murdering the unborn. In fact, they even have more of a right due to the fact that they have a responsibility from God to love, lead, protect, and even lay down their lives for women and children. Maybe what we need in our state is more toxic masculinity, where courageous men act in line with their calling. If men aren't allowed to speak on the issue of abortion, then I guess we should just go ahead and do away with Roe versus Wade, because 9 men rendered the verdict that gave us the oppression of fatherlessness that we see in our society today. Honorable Representative of City Council, I plead with you today to stand with me in obedience to the Lord Jesus Christ and do everything you can to make Phoenix a sanctuary city for these children and protect their lives, it has been mockingly asked by the pro-choice community when they see men standing against abortion, where are the women among all the men? Well, the women are here today to speak directly to it. May God have mercy on all of you to hear us. Thank you.
Elaine Stanton.
Hello, my name is Elaine Stanton. I'm thankful to stand here in front of you, exercising my rights as a living human being created uniquely by God. There are so many variances on when it is legal and illegal to take a baby's life, but according to God's law, it's simple: you do not murder. I want to ask you two things. First, uphold Arizona 13-3603, and in so doing, you are saving lives and loving your neighbors. And second, declare Phoenix the first Arizona sanctuary city for the preborn. Now I'd like to share with you, the one and only God, the author, the creator of life, says that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and to love your neighbor as yourself. The preborn being murdered every day are your neighbors, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I'd like to convince the pro-choice mother who has the right to choose and abort her baby using the reason that it's not viable, that the baby inside her is indeed viable. Holy humans, separate with the same right as I have today to choose here before you, pleading with you to uphold the law that would allow this child to live and not be murdered. Listen to this true story just published on the Huffington Post. Bethany Smith's unborn daughter had spina bifida. She was advised to have an abortion. Instead, she pursued a procedure where her daughter was removed from her womb and corrective surgery was performed before replacing her back in the womb to grow till full term. It was a success and the baby lived. Let me ask you how crazy this sounds. When the baby was in rather than out, it was okay to kill her. Then when the baby was out rather than in, it was not okay to kill her. But then when she was put back in and was no longer out, it was back to being okay to kill her. It makes no difference to vaguely assume that human life is more human post-born than pre-born. Is the baby a human life? Science says yes. The complete single-celled fertilized ovum has a genetic code completely separate and unique from the mother. It needs nothing but nutrition from the mother till birth. The U.S. Supreme Court used viability as a measure of humanness, that if the baby can live independently outside the mother's womb, it is human. Would our founding fathers be okay with this? No. James Wilson and George Tucker, both signers of the Declaration of Independence, made it clear in their teachings that it is a great misdemeanor to kill a child in the mother's womb. Remember that phrase, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness? So I ask you, don't these truths apply to all human beings, whatever their stage of life? Shouldn't equal protection be given to everyone? Or should we discriminate under the law? Abortion is discrimination against age, handicap, and place of residence. Thank you.
Thank you. Crystal Marshall. And then Sherry Pierce will follow.
Good afternoon. My name is Crystal Marshall. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, a local resident, a wife, and a mother to 3 daughters. I come to you today as a voice for the preborn, desiring justice for the defenseless, something that you swore to do when you took your position in leadership. I'm pleading with you to fight for your preborn citizens. Proverbs 24:11-12 says, "Rescue those who are being taken away to death. Hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. If you say, 'Behold, we did not know this,' does not he who weighs the heart perceive it? Does not he who keeps watch over your soul know it? And will he not repay man according to his work?" So I ask you, council members, does not he who keeps watch over your soul know it? The Lord sees your hearts, and your Maker is whom you should fear. The Bible says in Romans 1:2 that God has revealed himself to us in creation all around us, and he has written his law on our hearts. I'm not here today to convince you of the God of the Bible. He has already revealed himself to us all. God's word is the only objective standard of truth, and anything that does not line up with it should be immediately thrown out. Today, I'd like to address the argument that abortions should be okay for medically frail babies, essentially that some babies are okay to kill because they have health issues. Psalm 139:13 says about God, For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. Every child is given life by God. It is not our right to destroy innocent life based on fear, preference, or our perception of quality of life. A child in the womb with a diagnosis is no less valuable than any other child, and it is a command of God not to murder. Exodus 20:13. Doctors cannot play the role of God in determining the value of life in the womb, nor can parents. When a diagnosis is given, that child deserves to be fought for with equal value as any other human being created in the image of God. Raising a special needs child isn't easy. I should know. My daughter was diagnosed with spina bifida at 20 weeks in my womb. My husband and I were told that we could kill her if we wanted, based on her projected future of difficulties. Today, our daughter is 4 years old and is the joy of our lives. This is her. The doctors were alarmingly off with their predictions, and even if they weren't, it doesn't make her any less valuable. Having your baby killed because they're diagnosed in the womb won't save you any heartache. We joyfully celebrate her birthday every year instead of mournfully acknowledging the date we had her murdered because we couldn't bear to fulfill our duties as a parent to a child with a disability. All glory be to God. A medical diagnosis can be difficult, but murder is not the solution. Arizona Statute 13-3603 makes it already against the law to kill the preborn in our state. Therefore, please uphold your duty as a lower magistrate and resist the tyranny of a higher magistrate, an unjust law, by declaring Phoenix a sanctuary city for the preborn. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry Pierce. Then following Sherry is Desiree Mays.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Pierce. I'm a Christian woman, wife, mother, and grandmother. So I know personally that children are a blessing from the Lord, like the Bible says in Psalm 127:3. Yet child sacrifice is rampant in our nation and has been for 46 years. Our tiniest children, little boys and girls in the womb, are being slaughtered through abortion as our nation looks on and even celebrates their destruction. These precious babies are fearfully and wonderfully made by God, created in His image, just as each one of you were and all of us here today. These human beings, we are the ones created in the image of God. Not kittens, not dolphins, not eagles, and yet they are protected. Why are we not protecting our children? God, our Creator, the Supreme Judge, has commanded us not to murder, and yet this wicked, heinous crime continues. Why? As a lesser magistrate, I implore you to have the courage of Esther. In case you don't know, Esther was Jewish and in exile when she became a queen. Wicked Haman plotted to kill all the Jews and got the king, Esther's husband, to agree. So a decree went out for their destruction. When Mordecai, Esther's cousin, learns about this, he sends word to her to humbly go before the king and beg for the lives of her people. But she's scared because she knows that you can't go before the king unless he holds out the golden scepter to you. That can get even a queen killed. So Mordecai challenged her, saying, "Do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent all this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" So she decided, I will go before the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. She interposed for her people. Council members, that is my admonishment to you today. Please, you must interpose for your people, your littlest neighbors in the womb. Do not think that if you remain silent at this time, while little boys and girls are annihilated in your city, that you will escape God's judgment. God has put you in this position of authority for such a time as this. You have the ability, power, and duty to end abortion now in this city. Make Phoenix a sanctuary city for these little orphans. This is your Esther moment. Repent of your apathy. Repent of your complacency. Do not be a party to murder any longer. The Bible says no murderer will enter the kingdom of heaven. God is holy. He's going to judge each one of us. There is hope for this city. There is hope for our nation, and there is hope for you. But it can only be found through repentance and faith in Jesus Christ. Repent, therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, so that times of refreshing may come from the presence of the Lord. That's my prayer for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Desiree?
Good afternoon again, honorable representatives. My name is Desiree Mays. I'm a Christian, a wife, a mother, and a member of Apologia Church. I come here again to plead with you to protect the lives of our preborn neighbors. I first off just want to tell you that our church and my family, we're praying for each of you. We come here, you know, a couple times a month, but we want you to know that we care for you and we're praying for you. You might be sitting here today thinking that because abortion is legal, it makes it more moral. Well, first off, I'd like to say it's absolutely not legal. Abortion, first and foremost, breaks God's law that clearly states you shall not murder. Abortion also violates our Declaration of Independence, and abortion is still illegal here in Arizona under AZ Statute 13-3603. But for argument's sake, let's just say it was legal. Would that make it moral? In Hitler's Germany, killing Jews was legal. Was that moral? In the US, owning a slave used to be legal. Was that moral? So now we have what's considered legalized abortion. Does that make it moral to kill a child in the womb? No, legality does not equal morality. And we know these things are wrong because the God of the Bible who rules over this earth has given us the gift of a conscience. A conscience means, means with, and conscience means with knowledge. So with that knowledge, all people know that killing babies is wrong. And this must stir us to action. Today I came in and I wanted to show you some pictures of children who've been saved because of Christians who've gone out and fought for their lives. I actually brought you 6 pictures, but they were confiscated from me today, which I find interesting. I also brought a picture of a baby who has been killed, one that didn't make it, like 60 million others, and that as well was confiscated from me, and I'm not quite sure why that was. Perhaps you guys can answer the question. Do you know why those things were taken from me? Anybody? No? Because we had another...
We have no idea that that happened, so
okay,
I
yeah,
don't know the circumstances behind it.
Okay, now the security took it from me and said we're not allowed to have any pictures of any type of sort, so I gave it away. But then my sister over here was able to bring her picture of her beautiful family, which I'm thankful that she was able to. I'm just curious as to why mine was taken away, and I think it is because you guys are afraid to see the consequences of your inaction. I mean, what would be the problem of showing an aborted baby if, and I'm sorry, what's your name over there in the leopard, smiling? Oh, okay. Well, I'm talking about a baby that was murdered. Yeah, so I think it's just interesting that you guys took that right away from me, but you didn't right here. So it just kind of shows the arbitrary nature of your guys' rules here. So anyways, I'll just give you some names. Olivia, Grace, Carmelo. Those are babies that are alive because people fought for them. So we need you guys to fight too and make Arizona a sanctuary city. Thanks.
Can I ask a question? City Manager, could you inquire regarding the photo, the picture?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, yes. So we will clarify our security rules for bringing things into the facility. Thank you.
Mayor, if we could too, just give a clarification because we get new people in the room. It's illegal for us to engage with people that are doing, individuals that are doing citizen comments, just so you know that. I mean, there are new people here, you've been here before, but just for the individuals that are here, if we engage, we're basically breaking the law because it has to be posted within 24 hours on any subject. And so that's why you see most of us just not say anything at that point. Thank you, Mayor.
I believe, did you want to make a comment? No? Okay. Would you like to read the 24-hour paragraph, please?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances numbered G6525 and 6569 through 6571, S45417, 45436 through 45476, and 45478 through 45492, and resolutions 21723 through 21724.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion for mayor and city council boards and commission nominations as amended?
A motion to approve mayor and city council boards and commission nominations as amended.
Okay, I want to make clear on the one for the bond committee that is open-ended. Council members can still appoint someone, each from their district, as well as the new mayor has the opportunity to add members to that. This is just to establish it and get it up and started, so.
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to add one member from each district, council district to the committee.
Are you making a motion?
well, I think
I'd
the
like to
motion
make a
was to
friendly-
approve all boards and commissions. We'd have to separate the item out first.
Can we separate that one then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we just have the motion be for the bond committee?
We haven't voted.
Okay,
yeah, I think that's
everything
the way
but
to
the
do it.
bond committee. All
So
right.
we're going to do a motion to approve the mayor's appointments to the board and the council commission, boards and commission nominations as amended, except the city bond committee.
Second.
Thank you. Hearing no one's, please say yes if you are in support.
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Opposed? I'm unanimous vote. Now for the bond committee.
Move to approve the bond committee.
Okay? And Councilman Nowakowski, did you want to add?
I'd like to add a friendly amendment to add a representative from each district to that bond committee.
Second.
Okay. And I want to make it clear that the next mayor has the opportunity to add to that committee too. So,
And I accept.
okay. It is accepted by Ed the second. So all in favor, please say aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
yes.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Oops. Okay. Unanimously. And we have some people here to swear in, I believe. And when I say state your name, do it individually, and then it will say to the office of, and individually say what you're pointing to. All right. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of it was a test, you know, according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you so much for serving on these committees, and the council members would like to meet you, so would you go up and right on up. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ronnie.
And you're both in leopards. Yes.
All right. Next are liquor license applications.
Move to approve items 2 through 25, except item 25.
And noting
Second.
15 and 16 have been withdrawn.
Oh, and sorry, items 15 and 16 have been withdrawn.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 25.
That's mine.
Let's see, who's, Councilwoman Pastor, did you want a report?
I'll get a report, and then I'll make the motion.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm Jenny Wingenroth with the City Clerk, and with me is Noelle Rescone with the Prosecutor's Office. This request is for a new Series 10 beer and wine store license for Quick Market. This location was previously licensed for liquor sales and may currently operate with an interim permit. Staff recommends disapproval of this application based on a police department recommendation for disapproval and based on a neighborhood protest.
Thank you. Councilwoman, we do have some cards. Did you want to hear from them first or make the motion and let them speak to the motion? Sure. The cards? You want the cards first? Yeah. Okay. Detective Westfall?
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the time to allow me to speak on this matter. Alejandro Cabella, through Quick Market LLC, has applied for a new Series 10 liquor license for the Quick Market located at 710 East Turney Avenue. The Police Department recommends disapproval of this liquor license application for the following reasons. In January of 2010, Arizona liquor license was acquired by Turney Market Corporation, and as of December 31st, 2018, this license has expired. The prior owner ceased operating the business, and this would be a new owner and a new license in the location. Turney Avenue between 7th Street to 12th Street is comprised of several multi-family housing units, single-family homes which have been converted by LifeWell Behavioral Wellness into group homes for mental health and substance abuse rehabilitation patients. The neighborhood has a long history with the Phoenix Police and Fire Department for high calls for service for crimes of violence, drugs, and alcohol. Between January 1st, 2018 and January 1st, 2019, there were approximately 1,097 calls for service between 7th Street and 12th Street on Turney alone, which is approximately only half-mile in length. So in 2014, the Arizona Autism Charter School, the first charter school focused on children with autism, opened at 4433 North 7th Street. This school serves children in grades kindergarten through 6th grade. Central High School is located across the street from 7th Street, and Kitty Care, which is a licensed daycare facility serving children ages infant to 12 years, is located directly behind the market. From 2010 to 2018, the community and the landscape of the neighborhood has significantly changed since the location was granted a license in January of 2010. So based on the police and fire calls for service, the growing school properties, and the high concentration of mental health and substance abuse group homes in close proximity, granting of this liquor license is not in the best interest of the community. I would like to also add that during the interview with the applicant for the license, he stated he never owned or has run a liquor store in the past. He stated he hung out with his girlfriend who worked at a Quick Market, trying to learn the business for a couple years, and he has not attended any basic or management liquor law training courses in the last 3 years. When asked about the schools close to his business, he chose to only list the Montecito School, which was 800 feet from the market. The actual distance is 328 feet from the market. He did not mention the Arizona Autism School and the fact it's 152 feet. Central High is just across the street, and the distance is 251 feet. So based on the aforementioned reasons, I believe the applicant has failed to show that they are capable, qualified, reliable, and the granting of the liquor license for this establishment is not in the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report. Matthew Drowney?
Mayor Williams, City Council, thank you for letting me come up here today and speak. Just briefly, Detective Westphal mentioned the application for a liquor license on Turney Avenue, which is approximately 150 yards from our school's campus. Running a school is difficult. Running a school for children with autism is more difficult. Doing so in a very compromised neighborhood makes it oftentimes very challenging. This month alone, we had 3 lockdowns as a result of intoxicated individuals making their way onto our campus. There is a child care facility directly next to us, in between us and the facility that's applying for a liquor license as well. We'd ask that you deny the application for liquor license for Quick Mart. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Denise Anderson?
Good afternoon. I own property on Turney Avenue, very, very close to the store that is applying for the liquor license, and I'm absolutely opposed to it. We've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in that neighborhood in the last little while, and it's really gentrifying, and I think it would be a real step back. There are a lot of the reasons that have already been mentioned. There's halfway houses. I believe there's 7 halfway houses, people trying to get sober on Turney Avenue, and I don't think it's in their best interest either to allow a liquor license at the end of the street. Makes it way too accessible, I think. And also, there's the schools, the autism school, and the things that have already been mentioned, but I'm definitely opposed to the granting of the liquor license. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Hi, my name is Alejandro Cabello. Well, all they say that about my story is true. I mean, there's some schools close to the store that I didn't know about at the time when I rent the property. I also think that, I mean, how easy it is for you guys to give a license to have a kindergarten next to the community that is so dangerous, like everybody, the detective and the other people are saying, and not let a store being there that has been there for 40 or so years. All the neighbors that I talk to, you know, they don't have any problem having the liquor store there. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilwoman, did you want to make comments or a motion?
I would like to make a motion. I move to accept the police department's recommendation for disapproval and based on neighborhood protests due to the concerns with the location. The applicant has not shown the best interest of the community will be substantially served by the issuance of this license.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call, please.
DeCiccio? Guevara? Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Waring?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes. I believe that brings us to ordinance, resolutions, new business.
Motion to approve items 26 through 112, except the following: items 39, 45, 46, 48, 109, 110, and 112. Items 40 and 41 are as corrected.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
DeCiccio?
Yes.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza? Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor? Stark? Waring?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes. Brings us to item 39.
Mayor, may I make a motion to move up 110?
Oh, take it out of order.
Take it out of order, move it up.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion to take this out of order. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilman DeCiccio?
Mayor, I just want to put a motion out. I think we've got everything, just trying to keep things moving along. I move that we approve the petition and direct staff to delay the construction of the West Phoenix Glendale Light Rail extension and further direct staff to use the T2050 monies earmarked for construction of the extension to the Accelerated Street Maintenance Program in accordance with the council's previous directions in delaying the Paradise Valley extension. And the reason for this is that we have $1.6 billion in repairs that are needed in our roads today. Not 5 years, 10 years from now, but those road repairs are needed today. Thank you, Mayor.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We do have
Mayor, since the West Phoenix Light Rail extension has been discussed with the community at several meetings over several years, was included on the Phoenix Proposition 2000 ballot, approved by voters in 2000, was part of the county-wide Proposition 400 regional plan approved by voters in 2004, was included on Prop 104 ballot following an extensive community-driven process and approved by voters in 2015. I move to amend the motion so that it reads as follows. Prior to council making any decision on the West Phoenix Light Rail extension, the city and Valley Metro shall conduct a robust public input process to discuss how to best address the public transportation needs of the West Phoenix community. We need to ensure that all the residents, schools, community, businesses of the community are taken into account as we plan for the transportation needs of West Phoenix. The process should include the following: extensive outreach to engage the public, evaluation of public transit options to best serve the area, and a commitment that local funding be restricted to serving public transit needs in West Phoenix. At the conclusion of this process, the findings should be presented to the Citizens Transportation Commission for further evaluation and a recommendation for the council.
Is that an amendment or is that a second?
Yes. No, it's an amendment.
I mean, a substitute.
It's an amendment. So
The substitute.
Yeah.
It's a substitute.
Substitute, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
I second.
Motion and a second. I do have cards that I would like to call on first. Peggy Neely. So we're talking about this.
Like you did in South. I second.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak today, and I want to say thank you for all you've done. As you've been mayor, you've done a great job. You've provided leadership. And I want to say that I've met with almost all of you numerous times, had conversations. I've actually been involved in some of these conversations when I was on council. I know that this issue is of concern for folks, and our community has been concerned for over 6 years and had a dialogue. A lot of you have come out, visited our sites. You've talked about the issues that we see, and we really are supportive that these dollars go back to the streets and that this line be postponed. Did you say 2036?
I didn't give it any timeline, but basically we just delayed the construction of the West Valley line. And
Thank you.
Those monies immediately into street repairs.
And I understand that we want to have additional dialogue with the community. We were here late last fall that we were going to have that dialogue. We're now in March and we haven't seen any of that. That's why we submitted the petition to be able to move this forward. And I appreciate all of you that have met with me and showed your concern and support for the folks that I have here today. And we're really ready for this, not to be continued for public input, but a vote to be had. Thank you.
Thank you. David Dudley?
Good afternoon. Dave Doherty, and I'm with Cactus Jack's Auto Sales. We have several locations in the valley. Our headquarters is at I-17 in Camelback. We went to great lengths 15 years ago to purchase the property, to renovate the property, and today we have over 100 jobs, and we pay approximately $2 million a year in sales tax, and then in addition to that, our property taxes. They've proposed, the city has proposed light rail to come down Camelback and take away the whole front row of my dealership something that my family and I have built up over the years. This would basically put my showroom on the sidewalk, and those were the latest drawings that we saw. This Camelback extension that they're talking about is really a train to nowhere. As you know, Glendale had the foresight to cancel their light rail. They saw the deficit that it runs under, and they didn't want to participate. This was one of the main reasons that we were running the 19th Avenue to 43rd Avenue and Glendale extension to hook up with Glendale. Since that's been canceled, this is really, again, a train to nowhere. There's no major destination. There's no shopping mall. There's no stadium. There's nothing for it to go. It stops at the Circle K. I think there's a better way to spend the money.
I want to remind you, the motion on the floor is to not move forward to this until there's been public hearings. So you might want to say how you feel about that.
Okay. The bottom line is we do not want the extension. There's been increased crime. There's increased drug traffic, increased homelessness. They've had to fence off a retention basin next to my property, and it was all caused from the light rail. I would appreciate you guys voting today to cancel this extension. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Luke?
I'll try and do this in 30 seconds or less. The subject is the light rail to nowhere. Let me go through a little history of the light rail. 6 years ago, this vote came up. We were going to get more police, we were going to get repaired roads, and we were going to get less traffic on the freeway. None of those have happened, but we did get a train that came up to 19th and Camelback, and then it turned north. So there was a study made that would it go out Glendale west to Glendale town, city, or would it go out Camelback? The mayor, before the study was over, decided it should go down Camelback because it could go to a high school and GCU. I'd like to point out that if it went down Glendale, it would go by 2 high schools. GCU is a closed campus. They recommend their students don't ride the light rail because it's not safe. Please don't study this again. This has been out there for 6 years. We've already had it delayed for a study that I never saw a posting of anybody coming together to talk about it. This is time to vote on it, not study it. Let's kill the light rail to nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Johnson?
Mary, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I just wanted to say that there has been several studies done, and there has been several meetings, community outreach meetings that for over a 2-year period that was reaching out to the community to talk about this light rail study that also included a comprehensive meetings that they also had in Glendale, when Glendale was actually looking at taking that line down there. And I also want to say that in 2004, the Camelback extension was not a part of the original plan of light rail. The original plan of light rail to go down west in the West Valley was down the I-10 freeway, is down the middle of that corridor where it was originally planned to go. But there have been several meetings to be inclusive of meetings with the college, that Grand Canyon College, who has explicitly stated that that's not something that they particularly wanted to have, as well as all of those, the businesses along the Camelback corridor that was actually going down there that were not in support of this actually going down there. So I just wanted to say that there have been meetings that have taken place. There have been times when those meetings have taken place, the business people along there. Then they also talk about, there were also meetings with the department, the State Department of Transportation, to talk about that extension going down the Camelback and how expensive that would be, because they would have to build a bridge to go over the freeway, because the way the freeway is presently constructed, the freeway could not hold the light rail going down there. So there was talk about building that. So there's an extensive amount of money that would be in excess of what you would have in order to build that. But there have been several community meetings. There have been community people actually involved, not only in Phoenix, but in Glendale on this route. And I would encourage the council to go ahead and take a vote on this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Bo Stananevsky? I'm sorry, I probably murdered your name.
Mayor and council members, my name is Bo Stashevsky. I've been a member of the Westwood community for over 30 years, and I'm totally against this light rail. We have enough traffic to last a lifetime in that area. The thing we need to end is talking about this and this light rail construction. This is a bridge to nowhere. It's an expensive venture, and to quote government, the cost would seriously outweigh any benefits. Since the light rail has come down Camelback and went north on 19th Avenue, our community has experienced more crime, more drugs, more homelessness. The homeless now wander our neighborhoods day and night looking for their next opportunity. We have schools in this area on both sides of Camelback, and as I stated, we just need to end the talk, vote on this, and end this folly. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Kelly?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. Since 1980, I've been a pro-transportation and light rail advocate. From Valtrans to Proposition 104, many of us have worked to give more comprehensive additional transportation options to our community. Since 2000, and on multiple occasions, Phoenix voters have overwhelmingly approved our light rail system. We are asking the current City Council to stand strong on their commitment to the voters. Collectively, we urge the Council not to overturn the will of hundreds of thousands of voters because of the efforts of a group of opponents who have close ties to local and national organizations seeking to derail future light rail projects. If these projects are changed or altered in any way, Phoenix may lose up to $1 billion in investments. It would be just another step in a larger effort to stop all future light rail projects, and I encourage you to reject this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one card that does not want to speak, Margaret Dietrich, and she is opposed. We are voting on the substitute motion. Did you want to make a comment?
I do.
Okay.
The substitute motion, could you please let us know what the substitute motion is? It's community input.
The substitute motion includes, the amended motion would require the city to gather public input and engage residents about their transportation needs. Residents in this area strongly supported Prop 104, and maybe they've changed their mind, therefore we need to get their input.
Wrong motion. Sorry.
Okay. So, to conduct a robust public input process and discuss how to best address the public transportation needs of the West Phoenix community to ensure that all residents, schools, and businesses of the community are taken into account, as well as plan for transportation needs for West Phoenix. A process should include extensive outreach and engage the public, evaluation of public transit options to best serve the area, and a commitment that local funding be restricted to service public transit needs in West Phoenix. At the conclusion of the process, the findings should be presented to the Citizens Transportation Commission for further evaluation and recommendation for the council.
Thank you. I have some comments, and I have some questions. Mario, when is this line to start? How soon is this line supposed to start?
Yes, Mayor and Councilwoman Pastor, the currently planned scheduled opening is 2026 for this line.
2026 is when?
When it would be operational.
When it would be operational. So I'm moving from 2026 to current moment. What is supposed to happen in 2020 or 2021?
2021 would, Mayor, members of the council, and Councilwoman Pastor, 2021 would be the time where, that would be a year where design is underway in anticipation of construction beginning in 2022 or 2023.
Okay, so it's ready to go and it's ready to move. And we will delay it to what point?
I believe there was not a date given in the motion.
There was no date, but I could put a date of 2036 in there. But the monies would be used.
So it's meant to go, it's ready to go and be operational 2026. We're extending it out to 2036?
Yeah, 10 years.
Well, we're taking the monies immediately for the road repairs.
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're doing. Some people have said how we got here. Let me tell you how we got here. Phoenix Transit 2000 in 2000, there was a vote. Go Glendale in 2001, Prop 400 in 2004, the Phase 1 alternatives analysis in 2012, the Transit Corridor Study in 2013, Phoenix Transportation 2050 and 2015. So how did we get here? We talked about community input. After 22 community outreach events, 41 presentations, 28 agency meetings, 10 additional public meetings held from 2013 through 2016, 8 community working group meetings, 7 surveys, and 116 events to support this line. How did we get here? Meetings were held at Alhambra High School, Grand Canyon University, neighborhood commissions, neighborhood association, business alliance, individual stakeholder meetings, and at least 40 more, and here we are. So how do we, as a city, who has invested countless man-hours and dollars creating something, decide within a single moment to get rid of it? And to get rid of it at a request of people of all the people that were not involved in this decision. The other dynamic is when and who decided that the end of this line is nowhere. Nowhere means we disregarded all the community meetings and all the time between 2013 and 2016 in one moment. I did ask in October for community input and for community meetings in October. Unfortunately, I would have been glad for fortunate, but unfortunately my father passed. And when he passed, that whirlwind started with me. So we are here today. So meetings did not happen in October and did not happen to this point because of that point in time that altered my life. However, it doesn't mean we ignore a whole community to provide access to give jobs to have them go to school, to have them be connected to a city about connectivity and equity. I feel like I'm in the same position that I was for South Phoenix. And in the South Phoenix line, there was community input. We stopped and said, let's get the community input. So it's very interesting to land today and see where we are today in this conversation when those working families west of I-17 don't have an opportunity to say if they want it or not. I find it, and if, Mario, is there money attached to 2021?
Mayor and Councilwoman Pastor, yes, absolutely. There would be the design costs would be involved at that stage in 2021.
Okay. And Councilwoman Guerrera, you put in there that it went, that money stayed within West Phoenix.
Correct.
Am I correct? You want to put it that it goes to the roads in West Phoenix?
Hear from the community, and maybe we could decide then, but definitely for West Phoenix.
Okay.
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, the motion that I have in front of me includes engaging in outreach and evaluation of public transit options. It doesn't have an end date or an amount attached to it.
Okay. The other dynamic is I spoke to Quick Trip. They made sure that they contacted me and said that they were not involved in, that they were neutral on this conversation. I also spoke to GCU, and they also said that they were neutral in this conversation. We went further. I had a further conversation with GCU, and GCU basically stated what is best for the community and what is best for this area, that's what we would like to participate in. So I'm just putting that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Untitled.
Well, I think Ms. Pastor just pointed out how many public hearings we've had and everything else. We've had this thing, it's been debated to no end. And I'm going to keep my comments short because we've debated this almost at every meeting. And the bottom line is this, is that the light rail there goes nowhere. When Glendale cut off their line, there was nowhere left for this to go. It's just going to be a waste of taxpayer money. There's no reason to do that, to have it go in dead end somewhere. The other part of it is the roads need to be repaired today. We have literally, as of today, $1.6 billion in road repairs that need to be done today, not tomorrow, 3 weeks from now, or 5 weeks from now, or even 10 years from now. And what that does is it says that we have a critical problem today that we need to solve. You're not going to be able to do everything. This light rail line goes nowhere, and for it to continue to be on the books would be just really a malfeasance of our office. And I'm not going to support the first motion, but I'm going to support the second one. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman?
Mario, was the Camelback extension in the Transit 2000 transportation plan?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Mendoza, an extension that was in the Transit 2000 ballot was a reference to an extension for light rail that would go out to the Glendale area. It wasn't specifically designated for Camelback, but that is the same line that we're talking about today that ended up as currently proposed for Camelback Road is the line that was going to go to Glendale, and that's what was on the T2000 ballot.
Okay. And the one that's going to the west side, to 75th Avenue, that we already have the park and ride there for the light rail. Why was that extension delayed?
Mayor and Councilwoman Mendoza, the I-10 West light rail extension was delayed. So actually, at one point, it was a complete line. Right now, it's in 2 phases. One phase goes out to the Capitol. That's phase 1, and then the rest of the way is in phase 2. It used to be one complete extension. And in 2016, right after the passage of Proposition 104, it was split into 2 phases. Phase 1 was kept essentially on the same schedule to open in 2023, while the phase 2, which would have went all the rest of the way to 79th Avenue along I-10, was extended to 2030. And one of the main reasons for that, which was explained to the council at the time, had to do with the funding of the project. As it stood as one large project, it was considered in the federal government as what's considered a mega project, and therefore made the federal funds a lot less likely as it was planned. And so by dividing it into the two phases, it made those federal funds a lot less likely. That delay also so essentially helped protect the federal funding of the project, but it also was part of moving up the South Central extension sooner than had been planned at that time, as well as the Northwest extension, so that both of those could open in 2023.
But the West Side extension was supposed to open in 2023 or 25, right?
Or before then, it had been it was scheduled to open in 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody who's gone out and been knocking on doors again since January, it's amazing how many people complain about the quality of their streets, at least in my district. But what's more amazing to me is I'm a council person, and they know it because I self-identify, and I say something like, so you got any problems with the city? What's amazing to me is how many people don't complain about the streets. And I'm sitting at the front door thinking, I was just walking or driving on your street. I'm really surprised that doesn't get mentioned more often, because the quality of the streets is abysmal. And so I was very pleased. It was one of the things I mentioned when I talked about how very fair you were and how I appreciated your leadership during your mayoralty, Mayor. We did do something. We were proactive last fall. And when I discussed that with constituents, at least in my area, they're thrilled at what's coming because of that. So we obviously can do this whether we want to, and I recognize this is not my area. This is not the place where I'm knocking on doors. But I do think, it's only going to get worse if we don't maintain our streets, and this is an opportunity. I have been out and looked at the areas that are affected over by Camelback and the I-17, and, at some point, sometimes even the most well-intentioned, which I do not believe, well, it may be well-intentioned, but it's not particularly well thought out, idea can be sort of disastrous for local businesses and the movement of people, which really is the ultimate goal. So I would love to see this pass. I recognize it may not, but I feel what this presented to me today, I certainly have no choice but to vote for it. And being someone who does not think light rail is particularly well thought out or frankly well executed, I certainly hope this passes today. But I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for the citizens to bring it forward. Thank you.
Let's do roll call on the substitute motion.
DeCiccio? Guevara?
I'm going to explain my vote, and I just want to start by saying how disappointing it is to hear people who don't live in West Phoenix describe West Phoenix as nowhere. And with this vote, I just want to be clear with everyone about what we're voting on. The amended motion would require the city to gather public input and really engage our residents about their transportation needs. Residents in this area strongly supported Prop 104. Maybe they've changed their mind about light rail expansion, but it's probably best that we actually ask them before deciding to take action on this line. When issues come up regarding the South Central extension, we did a public engagement process. There's no reason why West Phoenix deserves any less. A vote for the amended motion is also a vote to ensure that regardless of what we learn in this public input process, the money that was slated for West Phoenix stays in West Phoenix. The underlying motion, doesn't do any of that. The underlying motion doesn't do any of that. There's no rush here. We aren't spending money on this line right now, and so I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting this motion. With that, I vote yes. Thank you.
Mendoza?
No.
Nowakowski? No. Pastor?
Yes.
Stark?
Yes.
Waring? Williams?
No. Brings us back to the original motion. So would you do roll call, please?
Mayor, this is, if I may just
sorry,
jump
Mario.
in. So on this motion that's before you to delay to 2036, one of the concerns I just want to raise has to do with the allocation of the funds. And so by delaying it about 10 years, it does free up some funding sooner, but it means that we would still need to hold some funds in, to plan for that extension to be built in 2036. So even though you might be able to use some funds sooner, we'd still need to find funding to be able to do that extension later down the road in 2036. We just need to make sure that that funding plan stays in a balanced, stays balanced, and that the revenues can cover the planned expenditures. And so I just want to mention that.
Well, 2036 was not in the motion, Mario. It was just delayed indefinitely.
So I still have the concern about the indefinite delay. One of the things that was done with the Northeast extension back in October was that it was delayed until the end of the T2050 program in year 2050. So that's another option before the council. One of the things that also I would mention with regard to the funding is that if one option for the council to consider is that the funds could help reduce overall costs in the light rail program by leveraging some of the debt that's needed to pay for upcoming projects. And so if it were used for that purpose, that would keep it on the light rail side of things, but it would create some financing cost savings. That's just another option for the council to consider.
I think my motion's fine the way it is right now.
Okay. Councilwoman Pastor?
I would like to know if it's delayed to 2036 or indefinitely. That means, in my mind, it kills the rail. It kills the west side extension.
If it's delayed to 2036, I would say, Mayor and Councilwoman Pastor, that it's not necessarily killed, with that we would still need to plan for an opening in 2036.
Mayor, Councilman Pastor, I think the issue we have is Councilman DeCiccio said his motion gives
Indefinite.
no time frame, it's
Yeah.
indefinite. And as Mario said, that gives us a problem in figuring out the money. So maybe a guidance in that is what you did with the Northeast extension, as Mario said, or to put a specific year to it allows us to determine exactly how much money would be freed up by that.
Well,
I think that's what we're trying to communicate.
The idea is to use that money today, move it up forward like we did with the Northeast extension. So I could put language in there to follow the model of the Northeast extension. Yep, that's my intent.
Councilman Nowakowski?
Thank you, Mayor. So Mario, I just came back from Desert Sky Mall, and it took me about 45 minutes, all the traffic that's out there right now on the I-10. So I just want to make sure that the west extension down the I-10 is still in place, that we're going up to 79th Avenue. If Glendale, Tolleson, Avondale, Ledgefield, or anybody else wants to connect from there on, they're welcome to do that, right?
Mayor, Councilman Nowakowski, yes, the I-10 West Phase 2 extension is still planned for opening in 2030.
And then going back, I didn't hear it very clear. I think it was Councilmember Mendoza was talking about the wording on the proposition itself. It talked about a West Valley extension, right? It didn't actually say Camelback, or did it?
That was, Mayor, Councilman Nowakowski, that was on the Transit 2000, Proposition 2000 and 2000. On the Proposition 104 ballot, however, it was designated on Camelback Road.
And so was the I-10, right?
And so was the I-10.
Okay. So just on the record, we still have that extension going out to 79 in the works, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back to the original motion.
Okay, I have another
Councilwoman?
question. Mario, regarding the Camelback line, is there a possibility, because I'm not sure and I don't know, people said yes for the Camelback line, but it was Camelback, Glendale, and when I was sitting on the Village, at one point it was going to go down Grand Avenue, and the other one was, I think, the I-10, I want to say. So does this process or this vote I can't say the word, preclude you from looking at other
streets. Because for me, it's not, if it's Camelback, it's Camelback. If not, it's not Camelback, but for me, it's connection to the west side. And what I mean by the west side, I don't mean the freeway that way. I mean in the heart of Maryville and to connect people.
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, there is funding set aside for this specific project, which in the motion would go toward streets maintenance needs, which means that the funding wouldn't be there to look at another alternative location for this specific extension that had been planned.
Okay.
Mario, that extension is from 19th Avenue to 43rd only. On
Mayor, that's
Camelback.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call.
DeCiccio?
Yes.
Guevara?
I'd like to explain my vote. As my colleagues know, when you apply for an appointment to fill a council seat, you write a letter explaining your interest. One of the things I said in my letter is that we need to ensure that all parts of the city are getting their fair share of public investment. Days like today are exactly why I felt the reason why I feel obligated to say that. When there were questions about the South Central Extension, several members of this council commented about how perhaps South Phoenix hadn't gotten its fair share, or about the opportunity that the light rail would bring to a long-deserving community. Perhaps they feel differently about West Phoenix. But voters in West Phoenix have asked for that investment. They voted in strong support for the light rail expansion. We'll see where that vote falls today here, but it appears that while the council members who represent West Phoenix are fighting to honor the will of the voters and protect that investment, other members of this council are ready to take it away. I think we should ask ourselves why. There's no money being spent on this line between now and August, and when we'll have another vote here, when we'll have yet another vote on the light rail. What are we afraid of now? Are there, other than voters once again affirming their support for public transit? I also think this council should be very cautious today about the process that brought us here. A lobbyist submitted a citizen petition on behalf of a client to force this on an agenda. We should be concerned about that precedent and how we set a citizen petition and how it becomes a tool for professional lobbyists rather than average citizens. Or maybe I should just go to 35th Avenue and Camelback and tell the people waiting there at 5 a.m. who have to get to the East Valley at 6:30 a.m. to hire a lobbyist so that they can get something done. So with that, I vote no.
Mendoza?
My vote, please. 5 months ago, we were supposed to have meetings in this part of town about this light rail. I'm not sure why those meetings haven't taken place. It's been 5 months. Also, if we're serious about our light rail system that connects the West Side people to ensure that they get the fair share, they're connected, we should have never delayed the West Side light rail that was going towards Maryville, Desert Sky area. Also, the line, to me, it makes no sense stopping at 43rd Avenue right now in Camelback with Glendale pulling out. And when I have to hear my constituents talk to me about the roads and the conditions in their neighborhood, it's hurtful because we haven't paid attention to these streets for years and years. So I do support light rail. However, the streets in my neighborhoods, and I'm sure in other neighborhoods here, are also important, and they haven't seen any money, any funding from the city in years. Therefore, I'm going to be supporting the motion on the floor.
Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor? Stark?
Out of respect for District 5, I vote no.
Waring? Yes. Williams?
Yes. It brings us to item 39.
Move item 39.
Do I have a second, please?
Sorry, second.
Roll call.
DeCiccio?
No.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
$39.
Nowakowski?
It is.
Pastor?
Which one is it?
Station. Yes.
Stark? Waring?
No.
Williams?
Yes.
Nowakowski?
Yes.
You're confusing me, you're going out of order. 6-2, passed. Item 40. 40. Item 45, can we do 45 and 46 together?
Which one's 46? Sure. You want me to separate them, or?
No, I'm asking if we could do them together.
Yeah, 40.
Okay.
I was just hoping you would move it. 45 and 46, please.
Second.
Roll call?
DeCiccio?
Yes.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski? Pastor?
Yes.
Stark?
Yes.
Waring? Williams?
Yes. Brings us to 48, I believe.
I move to approve.
Okay. Go
Have
ahead.
a motion to approve in second.
Second.
48. Roll call.
DeCiccio? Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski? Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Waring? Williams?
Yes. 6-2 in favor. Item 109. Okay, this is, I believe, the zoning case,
Yes.
and I am asking everyone not to repeat what was said in the last meeting. And what we want to hear is what has changed. I will give 20 minutes to each side, and we will get through as many cards as possible. And I noticed you have donated time to certain speakers, and they'll have to divide the 20 minutes up as best they can. So you want Ellen to start off and tell us what's current and what's changed?
Mayor, members of council, as the PowerPoint slides come up here, since this case was heard a month ago, at that time, Councilwoman Pastor asked for a continuance to have a couple of neighborhood meetings with some key folks within the area. And so we did have those meetings. Real quickly, this is a case for the basics just to cover because it is a public hearing. The existing zoning is P1. The request is R5 high-rise for almost a 3-acre site for a multifamily high-rise residential request. This is the larger context of the subject site with Central Avenue, 3rd Street, and then 7th Street. Here's the Phoenix Country Club golf course, and the club amenities and things are right here. It's right on the immediate intersection. This is just a close-up of that intersection, the surrounding zoning, and what shows happening within that area. This is the applicant's conceptual site plan and their conceptual elevations and massing plan that they've submitted as part of this request. The discussions that Councilwoman Pastor had multiple parties involved. There was some good discussion, but at the same time, there are some really tough issues that were not able to be resolved as part of some of those discussions. So the number one thing that the parties did all agree on was that a PUD was the correct zoning to pursue, and that everyone wanted to see redevelopment at this intersection. No one said they liked 7th Street and Thomas as it looks today. And so with that, the memo that came out yesterday afternoon does outline some stipulations. It recommends approval based upon the Planning Commission recommended height of R5 HR with the stipulated building height of 140 feet. It also adds stipulations at the end that deal with filing a planned unit development zoning case within 6 months of City Council approval of the rezoning request. The PUD would have to adhere to all the stipulations that are currently as part of the case and any that Council would approve. They would also have to address permitting some ground floor active uses and articulation along 7th Street and Thomas for that building frontage type, and then also form an architectural review committee consisting of a minimum of 3 neighborhood representatives to develop the site plan, elevations, landscape plan, other architectural details of the project. It also was outlined some items that the country club agreed to. They're not stipulations that are formally part of the zoning case, because there are things that are outside of that 2.94 acre area. When you look at the aerial map here, there are things that are part of the parking lot for the club, and so what they agreed to was do some additional landscape and entryway placemaking details as part of improving the appearance on 7th Street and Thomas, and then also to come up with a parking management plan for during large-scale events that they have. They can manage parking so there's no spillover in adjacent single-family residential neighborhood. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'm going to open the public meeting. Did you want to make any comments first before we hear it? Okay. Applicant? You have a total of 20 minutes. You can split it if you'd like.
Need about 2 minutes, max. My name is John Graham, and my office is at 6720 North Scottsdale Road. Thank you, Mayor Williams and Council, for allowing me to be here today. As you know, I've been trying to focus on the positive and how to work together, and so just some of my few comments are that I think there are several things that we were able to agree upon, and again, completely respect the input of the opponents over here, and definitely want to maintain and enhance a relationship with them. So we did agree to go from HR to MR, and then from there to go to a PUD. In my mind, the only thing we're really fundamentally apart on is the height, and we were at 164 feet to start with. We just heard about the 140 feet. People know that we're ready, willing, and able to go below that, but I think the reality is that that's the one area that we disagree on, and frankly, looking to the council to arbitrate that decision, and from our perspective is whatever that number is, we respect the process and certainly will live with it. One of our stipulations is that we have a neighborhood group to work with, at least 3 representatives that they can appoint through Councilwoman Pastor. Those 3 people, and part of the reason for that is I think we did have some constructive dialogue in the conversations, and because in my mind is site planning and architecture are fairly subjective, that I think it takes an ability to communicate with people to really find out what there's a common acceptance for, whether it's site planning or architecture, and something that we're fully willing to have that dialogue with the neighbors. So with that, that's our position is we would hope that 1, you would pass it, 2, that you would pick the height, that we would agree to all the stipulations that have been put out there that we think are better, good for all parties, and hopefully we can go forward and start working on a project with the neighborhoods and with the country club and with the city. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I'm a little confused. Okay. Are we switching this zoning case to a PUD today with stipulations and a height?
Mayor, members of council, the request before you was filed as R5 HR, which is high-rise application. The council cannot approve a PUD in lieu of an HR because a PUD, which stands for Planned Unit Development, is a zoning tool where you have to describe exactly what your uses are and what your building standards are. The council doesn't have that before them to approve in lieu because it hasn't been developed by the applicant. But what the stipulations do is, ultimately would be coming back and looking at doing a PUD in the future. And I think that's part of what at least Councilwoman Pastor is looking at doing. So it would be, that's where they've agreed on. A PUD is a good tool, but the direction, because they have not been able to figure out something about height, would come from the council to establish that height and then go to do a PUD and go from there.
I think I'm still a little confused.
Okay.
So
I think what I'll do is make the motion.
Okay, make the motion, then maybe
And
I'll
then
figure
from
it out.
there, we can move.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to be very clear on what we're discussing.
Public comment.
And we're not making any decision, we're not voting, we're going to do public comment, and I have cards.
Okay.
She's going to describe per a motion what she's attempting to do. You want to wait? I don't care. I just think they need to know what they're addressing too when they come up to the microphone, so.
Mayor, if I could add a little bit more. So legally what the council can do is approve the HR high-rise zoning as requested. You could deny the zoning case in its entirety. You could deny as filed approved mid-rise, which would allow for a different version of the project to come forward. And those are the three options that are out there today as part of this application. So that's what is in its entirety could be discussed today.
All right, thank you. All right, I will call Tom Chauncey. When you have. Oh, yes, just remember you're dividing 20 minutes amongst you all.
Mayor, Council, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today on behalf of, I think, numerous people. We're neighbors. We've got 906 petitions we gave you. That's different than anything we gave you before. That's a big number. I geolocated those people for you before the last hearing. Most of us live really close to the project. Where we're at is a crazy place. It's unfair and it's bait and switch. What's happened is they filed an application for HR. HR isn't appropriate for the area. The city staff report explains exactly why. We've told you why. That should be denied. What's going to happen today is the switch. Apparently, the city of Phoenix came out with a staff report yesterday, which I just got a few minutes ago, and that staff report says, gosh, 140 feet would be really nice. And the idea that you're going to be presented in a few minutes is that there's going to be a mid-rise as a compromise. A mid-rise isn't a compromise. A compromise would be denying the zoning application and having us meet with the developer to discuss a PUD, which is something we agree should be done. We agree that this project, if it goes forward, should be as a PUD. But that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to be asked to approve mid-rise, which is up to 190 feet, with a stipulation for something less. I don't know if it's going to be 140 feet. I don't know if it's going to be 125 feet, because that's what they've said they can build it at. But that's a bait and switch. The idea is that Robert got up here last time and said no HR. Well, Robert is up here this time and saying no mid-rise. They don't deserve a tower to do this to my neighborhood. It's going to have a negative impact on my neighborhood. It's going to surround my neighborhood with towers. Please don't allow it. It is monetizing the value of my neighborhood in security and financial security and giving it to the club for the corner. That shouldn't be allowed. That's a transfer of wealth. It's a theft. What we would like to see happen is we would like to see you deny the application in its entirety, and then we'll work with the developer for a PUD. We want to see the corner redeveloped. We want to see the club get something for this corner and do something with the corner. But we don't want mid-rise or high-rise precedent to be allowed that's inconsistent with the general plan and inconsistent with the Midtown TOD, which is designed to foster the light rail, which probably isn't a good argument to be making today. But what we would like to see happen is something fair. They told us at the beginning they couldn't build it for less than 164 feet because it didn't pencil out. I was shocked when they showed up at February and told you they'd do it for 144. That shouldn't be shocking to one of the neighborhood people. I should have been part of, hey, Robert, we can't do it for 164, we can do it for 144. Do you want to talk about it? No, it was a surprise. They came to you and told you before they told us. And then 2 weeks ago, they finally came forward and said, well, you know what, we can really do it for 125, but we want to get a mid-rise thing first, and then later on we're going to do this PUD thing, and it sounds like a bait and switch, and it sounds like something bad is going on, and I don't even know what it is, and I bet you don't either. I ask you to deny this application. It's a theft. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Chauncey, do you want to go next?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate the time. I will not repeat anything that Robert said, nor will I repeat the arguments that we presented to you before. The fact is, this is a vote for mid-rise or high-rise that violates the general plan. It is outside of every district that's appropriate. It should be on Central. But I'm going to give you a quick answer to why this is being pushed. The delta between the existing zoning of about $25,000 a foot to high-rise or mid-rise zoning at $75,000 to $80,000. You vote yes on this, you are giving the members of the Phoenix Country Club a gift of somewhere between $3 and $5 million. That's totally inappropriate. I would ask that you please vote no on high-rise or mid-rise zoning for this property. They can do it better with a PUD, but if once you give that zoning, that entitlement, that 190 feet will be there forever. And it may not be John that comes back with a nice thing. It may be someone else. It may be 3 years from now. But you're giving 3 acres of high-rise or mid-rise zoning on the corner. And next time it comes before you, it'll be for that 190 feet. It will destroy our neighborhoods. It's not allowed by the general plan. I would ask you to please vote no. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Peggy Neely? Okay. Mary Rubert? Mary, I think, Rubert?
Rupert.
And then following her is Roberta Hightower.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council people. I hadn't intended to speak today. I was going to give my time to Mr. Chauncey or Mr. Warnicki. But I certainly am in agreement with both of them in their arguments. And I feel that when a person moves into an area, if you're really interested, you find out about what's available in the area, what can be changed in the area, and not that I did that, but nevertheless, I think there needs to be some stability so that you can count on something not being changed just for the sake of change. You need to be able to rely on what already exists and what the current laws are. And you need an opportunity to vote for change in that laws. People in the past have agreed to the general plan. People in the neighborhood have relied on that general plan, and other people throughout the city of Phoenix, so it's not just our neighborhood. If you allow this to happen, it's going to happen in the future to all of the other neighborhoods, all of the other corners, and it takes away from the quality of life for the residents of the city of Phoenix. And I agree with Mr. Chauncey and Mr. Warnicki, and thank you.
Thank you. Roberta Hightower? Warren Hightower? Okay, Mary Mulligan? No? Marilyn Rinbo, or Rinbon? We're getting close to being the last speaker, so we have a little over 6 minutes. We still have a bunch of cards, so.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Marilyn Rendon. I'm a 49-year resident of Midtown. What we've got to decide here is 75% of the people voted for a certain plan. Now, do we care what the voters say or not? It's a yes or no. We care what the voters say or we don't. This project belongs on Central Avenue. Nobody from 7th Street is going to walk to light rail from 7th Street. It's an invasion of the people around there, and development is important to our city. Developers are important, but this has no place where it is. It's in total violation of what the voters have asked for. Please don't do it. My suggestion is, too, and you can decide better than me because you do this all day long, but there's a new mayor coming in tomorrow. There will be 2 new city council members in May. They're the ones that are going to have to live with the ramifications of a yes vote on this. My suggestion would be a delay until all those people are in place, and that we decide then. Also, this is a sophisticated, sorry I can't talk, I've got a cough drop, sophisticated, educated group of people on all sides of this. Yet, I don't hear any sophisticated arguments. I hear, oh, the corners run down. Well, whose fault is that? You know, the things that I'm hearing don't even make sense. I'm really sorry that the City of Phoenix government's time is being wasted. We shouldn't even be here discussing this. There was a vote made on this, what should be happening, what kind of zoning, and we should follow it. Thank you.
Kent Comack?
Mayor Williams, City Council, my name is Kent Kamak. I am a 40-year resident of the City of Phoenix, 36 in the last home. My wife and I raised our 6 children in Phoenix. I ask you to vote no on this project, either as a mid-rise or a high-rise, for a very simple reason. In 2015, there was a vote on the general plan. By an overwhelming, stunning majority, that plan was approved. And inherent in the idea of a general plan is that it be a plan that the residents, that the voters can plan on, can rely on, and can count on for their future. Approval of this project, which is outside of that general plan, and if you think of it, it basically shows a peak on Central Avenue. It does not allow for a spike on the other side of the street. Because it is the voters' plan, I believe it is your duty to uphold it and vote no on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Edwards? Susan Edwards. And following this Susan is Susan Montgomery.
Madam Mayor, council members, 2 specific issues on top of everything else really concern me. One is the Planning Commission approved this with stipulations, and one of the stipulations was providing 5% over the minimum parking spaces for country club members / guests during large-scale events. I want to know, number 1, what large-scale events are, and that is 11 to 16 spaces replacing 3 acres of parking. I can't find it anywhere in the presented ordinance because it's not there. And per Alan Stevenson's memo as of the 19th, they wrote, the country club agreed to stipulations not enforceable by the city. The country club shall agree to provide a parking management plan during large-scale events to ensure that spillover parking does not occur in adjacent single-family residential neighborhoods. Those people are going to park in nearby neighborhoods. Who knows what large scale is? Will park in the nearby neighborhoods, inconveniencing them and resulting in jaywalkers crossing 7th and Thomas. And I can tell you, living on Edgemont south of Thomas, across from Phoenix College, I have experience. And with the fact that your neighborhood is inconvenienced massively, Sometimes you can't get in your own driveway. Second, in the long-term what-if category, in the late 80s, I was on the Board of Health, and paddock pools made some safety errors in the pools at the Phoenician, and they wanted variances on this, and the discussion ended up moving into, could the Phoenician indemnify the county if someone died or was hurt? I listened, and then I finally said, first, if someone dies or is maimed because I voted to allow this, I can't even look at myself in the mirror the rest of my life. Second, what if the Phoenician goes bankrupt? And the room gasped. There was a collective gasp. And it was not many months later that it did. So the question I ask is, what if the golf course closes? Will a future council be pressed to allow more high-rises there on that beautiful green land? Because A, you allowed this one, and Phoenix Country Club members want more of their equity back? You need to think about this. This is really a huge long-term thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Montgomery, and then Dan Carroll.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. That's a tough act to follow right there in terms of the presentation. There's not much more I think I could say to you as a resident of Greater Coronado area, and I've lived there for about 18 years, a few blocks from where this high-rise would be. There's not much more I could echo. You see the red shirts here today. You've heard from us previously. The staff has heard from us. I think I just want to talk a little bit about process. And I was disturbed to find out just recently, today in fact, that the process that we anticipated happening coming out of the prior council meeting really didn't involve the key stakeholders that I thought it would. I thought there would be Gene Yeager, for example, and some of the other individuals that have opposed this project for a long time, be involved in that discussion with Councilwoman Pastor. And I don't think that occurred, and that's very disappointing to us and very disappointing to me. I would ask and echo the prior arguments that we should follow the city plan. There's a settled expectation associated with that plan. And I would also echo the fact that the height of this building is a privacy issue, and it's a privacy issue for my neighbors. But what that results in is potentially my neighbors that are around the perimeter of this project selling their houses, moving away, because they're very uncomfortable with having a high-rise where people are essentially looking into their backyard. And I know the developer has said very clearly, oh, well, they have large shrubs. It's quite convenient. It's not up to my neighbors to have to keep their trees high and their shrubs robust to protect their privacy. That's not what the city plan contemplates, and we were hoping that's not what this council will contemplate. And at the end of the day, if my neighbors who have stuck through the recession and built up their homes and improved their homes and maintained their historic homes move away, and those around that perimeter becomes short-term rentals and transient uses for those properties are not going to be maintained the way historic homes should be maintained, and they won't be maintained the way historic homes in a historic district should be maintained, and that's going to lead to blight, and that's very disturbing. You've heard these arguments before, but we're going to keep repeating them. To the extent that you do move forward with this, and we would urge you to deny this outright and let the folks work with the developer moving forward, and by that I mean a real constituency of folks. But to the extent that you are going to go ahead and move forward, you do need a process for how to engage folks properly. But at the end of the day, we urge you to deny this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Carroll. Then Joshua Tipple.
Thank you, Your Honor, Vice Mayor, councilors, neighbors, and team. First of all, I've been honored to serve as chair of the Midtown reInvent Committee, and very pleased that you joined in and embraced our plan. Our plan did not envision this. But that said, when I chaired the Encanto Village Planning Committee, I always wanted to try to find a path to yes. So what do we agree on, I think? I think we agree that a high-quality residential for sale product on this parcel is in general a good thing, but this height is not. We can achieve that by following, I think, something along the lines and along the height, no higher, of the Optima Camel View project. We've talked about that some. I know it would require underground parking. I know there's an expense related to that. I think there are solutions to be found. I've heard talk about the resurgence of 7th Street to the north and all of the beautiful restaurants in that culinary corridor. And you know one thing that did not lead to that resurgence? A residential tower. Didn't happen, wasn't needed, isn't needed here to cause a resurgence in this part of the city. I've also heard that, gosh, we're losing out to Scottsdale and Tempe when it comes to folks who want this type of product, want to live here. They're not moving into Phoenix. In Phoenix proper, we have a dozen options. Optima Kierland, One Lexington, Executive Towers, Phoenix Towers, Crystal Point, Regency, Esplanade Place, Optima Biltmore, 2211, Portland on the Park, Summit Place, and 44 Monroe. And there are more, I think, to come. One can support density on this parcel, but oppose this project. So I ask you to vote no and give the developers and the neighbors an equal voice in proposing a clear PUD application. As it stands, as I understand it here, we're talking about approving mid-rise with a PUD in 6 months. My question to you is, or what? What if we approve that and the PUD doesn't come in 6 months? What happens then? I ask you to oppose this, give us something clean to work with, and let's do what everybody wants done. Let's get this corner and this intersection looking like it should. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Tipple? Joshua? Okay. Roger Lindas? Bennett Edison? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. May I have a second card for you for citizens' comment? Okay. Harvey Schulman?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I want to make a practical point and a legal point. On the practical point, the notion that this building is going to somehow change 7th Street or that community is just belied by the facts of what's going on Central Avenue. I live about less than a mile from this area along Central Avenue, and you know, we have high rises there, including in the last several years Tapestry has opened some buildings. That hasn't led to a development along Central Avenue along the lines you're thinking between Thomas and McDowell. In fact, Idamania has closed, a number of places have closed. So I think this is a good idea about that corner, but you really need to tackle the problem as one that involves more than just a piece of a parking lot. If you think you're going to approve a tower there and that's somehow going to change this area, it's just not going to happen. And unfortunately, I say that because I live at Tapestry, and it hasn't happened to us. So that's the practical point. The legal point is that the staff came out originally and said, this is spot zoning. I do believe, unfortunately, but I believe you have the authority not to follow the general plan because of the size of the property and what the case law is in Arizona. It's unfortunate if you choose not to, but you have the legal right. What you don't have the legal right to do is spot zone. And the staff in its report said this is spot zoning. You need to back away from that conclusion because if someone challenges this in court, everyone's going to spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and this project's going to get nowhere arguing about spot zoning. Reducing the height of the building by 20 or 30 feet, when you look at that map, look what you're doing. You're taking part of one parcel, not a neighborhood, not a block. You're taking part of one parcel and making a special rule for that parcel. And I would urge you to do what some of the others have said. The PUD sounds like a great idea. You don't need to move ahead today and approve the height of this thing. Let them work it out on the PUD, because they're going to have to come back with the PUD anyway, and you won't be involved in a legal mess over what I think is spot zoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have left. There are still some cards that are opposed, but I will ask the clerk to put those names in the record so that they're there. I'm going to forfeit 31 seconds because I think we've heard you pretty clearly. I have 2 cards in favor. Patience, Hunt, Work.
I was privileged to serve on Councilwoman Pastor's committee, and I got the feeling around the table that everyone was excited to see something happen. I feel that excitement. Another insight that we received from Councilwoman Pastor was that the city of the future will be very different from what we now experience. And I believe that the city of the future will feature high-rise density right next to historic homes. And I look forward to that. I think both can thrive. The other point is that I would not want this to go away. Don't let this opportunity, which would be great for neighborhoods, slip away. Please don't do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Huntwork?
Mayor, members of the council, I think that I am going to yield my time to my wife, as I almost always do, and not add anything further to the discussion at this point. Thank you.
Smart man. I have 3 cards that say they do not wish to speak. I will give you an opportunity to change your mind. Edward Lane, Susan McGee, Larry Lazarus. No. I don't believe this. Okay. In that case, I will close the public hearing. But he could, did I? But I'm going to allow him to rebut right now. He doesn't want to?
I will, but I'll keep this
both of you can't say anything.
No, I know. I'll just keep this very, very short. So, I think, again, the fundamental issue here is the height, which, again, I think people know that we're willing to modify that per the direction of the council. And then I think the other thing that, I kind of hear over and over again are the more negative things like what about litigation, what about the country club closing, et cetera, et cetera. I think, and certainly our track record is that if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right, we're going to do something positive, both for the property itself and the area. So while I understand that sometimes it's easy to resort to the things that worry you or concern you, is I really would like to hopefully get this approved and change the dialogue to what can we do that's great for that corner and great for the area and great for the city.
Thank you. Councilwoman, do you have comments? Motion?
I have comments, sir. Okay. So, what's really interesting about this case is, once again, a day that arrived in front of me was November 27th. That was a day that I was with the neighborhood and the country club discussing this case. That night at 7:50, I got a call saying my dad's having a heart attack. So, this case will always stay with me. It will always be part of me. And the fact that people use my dad in front of me today
in conversations and say that my legacy is going to be something different than my dad is just disingenuous to me. I am very different. I'm a combo of my dad and my mom, but I'm also a strong woman and knows what she's doing. So, after lengthy discussions and hearing neighbors, I really didn't talk with the country club and really engaged with the country club, and really listened to the concerns of the neighborhood, but also understood the concerns of the country club. And I have to correct something, because there were 2 meetings. And there were 2 meetings. I decided that when I was not here present in Phoenix, that my staff start the dialogue with the community. And Jean Yeager was part of it, Robert Warnicki was part of it, Artie Vigil was part of it, Tom Chauncey was part of it, John Graham, Bo Lane, Mary Crozier, Patience Huntworth, and Courtney Levinus. That meeting happened, and then last Tuesday, I met with the whole group. So meetings did happen, and conversations did happen. Throughout the whole dialogue, with the first meeting, I got information as to what was requested by the neighborhood. There were some requests. I went back, did the research, and decided to, in the meeting that I met with them, say, here's the following things that I heard, and here are the following answers that I was given. In that whole conversation, it was moving back and forth. At a certain point, I heard 60 feet and PUD. At that moment, we were not going to get to a space where I could see that there was going to be any type of compromise. So I ended the meeting and I said, all right, I heard everybody. I understand all sides. I hear clearly what is happening. Now you have left it with me making a decision for what is best in those 4 corners. After that meeting, I spent hours and hours working with my staff, the planning department, and everybody to figure out what is best for this corner. And I asked Alan Stevens from the very beginning, what about a PUD? Can I ask for a PUD? And Alan, can you explain the 2 differences of the PUDs that I was requesting?
Sure, Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, members of the council. In order for a zoning case to come forward, you have to advertise to the public what the actual application is. In this case, it's an HR R5 application, and so the council, as part of your obligation to look at a case in its entirety, you can approve something that has been advertised that is less intense than what you advertise. So for example, in this case it's R5 HR, the council can approve mid-rise if they so choose, because that's less intense than HR. HR allows 250 feet of height, mid-rise only allows a maximum of 190 feet in height. What you can't do without having an advertising problem and running afoul of state statute as it relates to rezoning is deny that case and put in a PUD, because a PUD requires you to spell out exactly what your height is and what your uses are, and all of those standards that are spelled out already in an HR or mid-rise district, because they're there. You have to literally write that out and then advertise that, and because we don't have that written, the council can't deny this case and say approve a PUD instead. They can provide direction to go file a PUD and work with the community to do those things, but the council can't in one motion just approve in the alternative a PUD.
Thank you. And legally, we can't do that.
That is correct.
There's a state law saying that we can't do that.
The zoning statutes don't allow for you to just approve a PUD in lieu of the HR case.
And if I did, there would be a lawsuit.
Probably would be a lawsuit, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So, in going back with, I agree with the community that high-rise, there should be no high-rise designation. And 220 feet is a high-rise designation. I also understand and understood, and the next question and the biggest questions at play is the height. That's what's at play, is the height. Because all the other stipulations, if you read the memo and if you read the report, all of the other items have been met, except the height. So the height then started with 175. That was totally inappropriate. I didn't think 175 was accurate or appropriate for that area. I said I'm not going to support that. Then some neighbors threw out in the meeting 75 feet max, others said 90, others said 60, others said 40. And during the discussions, the developer offered 125 feet minimum. Well, that still seems too high for me, and I wasn't going to support it. So, I just want to thank the neighborhoods for their leadership, and the owners and developer for their willingness to work with me. We are better off, and our projects are better, when we all look for common ground and work together. My motion is the following with stipulations. I move to deny the high-rise overlay. I cap the building height at 110 feet. Require staggered building heights. Form an architectural design committee to help design the project. Require ground level activation, architectural articulation along the streets, and create a PUD within 6 months, which requires additional parking and landscape for the adjacent country club parcel. I want to approve mid-rise zoning temporarily to settle the height debate, get the interested parties working together to create the PUD that builds upon the area character. I also this approval will be subjected to all stipulations from the planning director's memo dated March 19, 2019, and adoption of the related ordinance except for the modification to stipulation 1, where the height should be limited to 110 feet. I have additional stipulations request. 22. First, I want streets to begin the process of exploring how to permanently remove the reverse lanes on 7th Street from Osborne to McDowell Road through an extensive, comprehensive feasibility study. 23. Second, I want streets to conduct an assessment on the need for a new traffic signal or hawk light at 7th Street and Earls intersection. Number 24, I strongly urge the country club leadership, management, and membership to examine and consider applying for a historic preservation status and placement on the Arizona State Register of Historic Places for as much as the club's property as possible, since this is one of the landmarks and this is one of the great areas that we want to preserve. Finally, the approval shall be conditioned upon final city council action on a PUD rezoning case within 12 months of the city council's approval of this change of zoning in accordance with the section 506.B.1 of the Phoenix zoning ordinance. I want the future of the PUD to incorporate the existing historic and open space character of the Phoenix Country Club and adjacent neighborhoods, and that any residential buildings stagger heights to lower levels as they move closer to the curb. Since this will be a PUD, if it is decided through the process that 110-foot limit is not to the roof deck, and in actuality, the top of the building could be lower than 110 feet, then it's certainly doable. I also want the ground floor of this project activated, and that any podium used for parking be designated in such a way that masks or conceals its use, so as to avoid the appearance of a concrete wall. I want the applicant to work with the 3-member neighborhood committee to be appointed at a later time to weigh in on the design of the project that allows input for the final look and plan of the project and its components from the community perspective. I would also like the country club to help alleviate the concerns of surrounding residents by agreeing to provide valet parking during large events to prevent spillover in the adjacent single-family residential neighborhoods, and by planting trees and developing an entryway feature along 7th Street and Thomas Road. It is my hope that this PUD is the start of an all-encompassing plan that evolves over time with the project that works closely with the surrounding neighborhoods and takes into account the unique history, character, and outdoor nature of the country club within an urban setting. Also, I would like to work to create a sense of place for the Four Corners and of this area. So, those are my motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. I do have a couple questions, though.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just, Mr. Graham.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, Mr. Graham, you're okay with the additional stipulations? And I do want to say that I've known Mr. Graham for a long time. My husband's known you for a long time. You guys went to high school together, and I do believe that he's a man of his word, and I do believe he will work with the neighborhood. I do believe he'll be open to the discussions that will be that will ensue during your meetings. This is a tough one because Phoenix Country Club is a special place. But I do think we can get somewhere with the PUD. I do want to thank you to Laura for all the meetings you held. I was able to go to one of the meetings for a short while, and I know you're working hard on this.
Anyone else? I do have a quick question on your stipulation 22 on the reversible 7th Street. If we approve 22, does that commit us to changing it? Or is it just commit us to the study?
Mayor, members of council, it just is a commitment to study the issue, and then streets would have to do a study and then come back and report the results to that.
Okay, and now we go through like the transportation subcommittee and all the other regular process on streets?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Mayor, just want to explain my vote to the individuals that are here. As a council, we try to do our best to support the council member for that district, but I've got to tell you, this is a very difficult one for me to want to do that. I'm going to vote yes on this, but I think it was one of the most poorly handled cases I've ever seen from the council perspective, and it's an embarrassment, and I'm sorry for that, but my vote is yes, Mayor.
Guevara.
Out of respect for my colleague, Councilwoman Laura Pastor, who I trust to do what is best for our district, I vote yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski. Pastor.
I'm a yes vote. I disagree with Councilman DeCiccio about poorly handled. Maybe horrible. There are certain cases that are horrible in your area, but we all support you.
Okay.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Williams.
I am going to go ahead and support this simply because of the changes. And I truly believe the way to the solution is a PUD. And I think that's how we're going to get there. I don't think we have that many options. I really am still opposed to the height. So I'm hoping when the PUD comes back, there's some alternatives that are really solutions. So, yes. Unanimous. Okay, the next item is 111, but I think no action is called for that, so that takes us to one.
It's 112.
It's 112.
Yeah, you said 111. We already did 100.
Okay.
112, and I thought.
That's urban camping. And we have actually no staff record. Elizabeth Venable. Elizabeth.
Oh, just start? Okay. So I submitted a citizen petition because I've been talking with members of the homeless community extensively. And essentially, they've been recounting that they are still getting criminal charges for sleeping, lying on the ground, sitting, etc. This is in violation of a recent Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that says that it's cruel and unusual punishment under the 8th Amendment to criminalize sleeping and camping. There's about, in terms of emergency shelter, there's about 1/10, I'm not talking like longer term shelter, there's about 1/10 of what is needed for the broader camping population. Like Cass can only hold 350 people at a time. Everybody is told to go to Cass. There's no clarification on where to sleep. There's no clarification on the law. And if there isn't, and if you're following the law, there needs to be some sort of compromise between trespass and the ruling and clarification of that law so that they know where under the ruling they have the right to sleep. Because if you cannot enforce the camping law, not all of this land is real property. Not all of this land is, it follows the trespass law at all. And it shouldn't be something where they have to pick and choose and not know anything about it, where there's no guidelines, nothing has been explained, where if they are 2 feet, if they're next to the building, they get arrested, but if they're within 2 feet of the curb, they don't, you know, things like that. Very technical things they should be able to know, and it should be clarified for them under this ruling. And that is essentially what I'm here to say. We had several people, we've had many people come out to meetings actually. We had a meeting of 24 once recently, and of all people who are camping, and almost all of them have gotten these charges for almost no reason other than sleeping. And it just gets in the way of their lives. It gets in the way of getting out of homelessness.
2 minutes, you have some time donated to you.
Okay. The other thing I would say is that one of the ways that municipalities have worked out ways that they can regulate this law, well, there's a variety of different ways, but if they are trying to, for example, take camps down, they can offer shelter. Now, services is not the same thing as shelter. But because services, you could be committed involuntarily for who knows how long under Phoenix Cares. You know, if a doctor does it, if you're a threat to yourself or others. So that's not housing. That's not a solution to homelessness. It may be a solution to some people with SMI or some people with drug addictions, but that's not an overall solution to homelessness. 45% of people who are homeless have just lost a job. So to stigmatize people further and say, oh, everything's because of their mental illness, everything's because of their drug abuse. It's because we do not have shelter in this city. And I've watched this issue over many, many, many years, and I gave up on it, to be quite honest, because I didn't see movement in it, I didn't see traction in it until I saw this ruling. But I have not seen the housing stock improve since that time, since like over 7 years. Okay, I have not seen improvements. I see the same place that I see before, with more people that are still getting criminally charged for sleeping and camping. So that would be all of my comments.
Thank you. Adrian Johnson, did you want to speak? Patricia Gerke? Pardon me.
Okay, hi, my name is Patricia Gerke. I'm a native Arizonan, born and raised. I worked as an accountant for 30 years for some of the biggest companies in the city, and in the last year, I found myself homeless. I'll try to keep this. My request is that you, as Elizabeth said, that you clarify the ruling of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, because that is a federal law which trumps state law, basically. And we shouldn't be subject to the whim of whatever police officer walks by. There are people who are just trying to get their lives back, just trying to, and a good night's sleep is part of that. You can't get a job if you can't get a good night's sleep. And to criminalize sleeping and just trying to get through the day so that you can get off the street, it ultimately puts us back further and further. Being on the streets, I call it quicksand. You're fighting, but no matter how hard you try, ultimately, you need a hand up. You need people to help you. And the shelters are available, but there is a dearth of beds available. There are, 10% of the homeless population can be housed in shelters, and there is not enough beds. I could not get a bed for the entire winter because I am not a domestic violence survivor. I am not an addiction. I have none of the things that help you get a shelter. I just fell through the cracks. And so for me, it's been eye-opening. It's been a challenge, learning experience, great in many ways, horrible in other ways. I've seen things I never thought I'd see in a million years. And, excuse me, I just feel like our population is marginalized, we're looked down upon, and people's self-esteem starts to drop to the point where they don't even feel like they don't even feel qualified to walk in to somewhere and ask for a job. You smell, you can't, you're tired, you're just exhausted. It's an exhausting experience. I apologize. So I think the root of the cause is affordable housing. We've lost so much. The gentrification of downtown, where some of the housing was because of the ASU campus, and there's just not enough housing for people trying to get back on their feet. So we need to work on housing. We need to work on shelter beds, because a place to lay your head and a guaranteed shower is the first steps towards getting your life back and getting a job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. We need more affordable housing in this community. So I think that's top priority of someone that's coming soon. Any council comments? Okay, I have no more cards on that item. I do have 2 citizen comments cards. Bennett Ellison. Okay, Susan Gardino.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, men and women. I put in my comment card, I wanted to speak on the item of 110 regarding the petition regarding to stop the light rail construction on Camelback. For whatever reason, I wasn't called to comment. Who knows what it was, so here I am, waiting till the end. Of course, you know me, Susan Godino. I'm with Building a Better Phoenix, and I am here to repetition, since I didn't get to comment before, I am here to repetition you, the City Council, on behalf of the public, to stop the light rail construction for South Central Light Rail expansion. I have copies for all of you and for the record, and I would like to read my petition to you so that you can vote on it. And when you review it and think about your vote, I want you to rethink about how you voted for the light rail construction down Camelback, especially since it was only a 2-5 vote last month, and now you guys are all for voting to stop the light rail construction down Camelback, but not the South Central Light Rail expansion, when it's the same situation. It's a light rail to nothing. There's nothing there for the light rail to go to. So here's my, do I give that to everybody? That's one extra one. So here I am, to the Mayor and Council of the City of Phoenix, Arizona. Whereas over 39,000 Phoenix residents have signed a petition in support of a ballot measure that would stop the wasteful and destructive expansion of light rail, which threatens to bankrupt local businesses and dislocate our neighborhoods and communities. Whereas the initiative petition contains more than enough signatures to refer the question of light rail expansion to voters at the August 2019 citywide election. Whereas, despite the overwhelming show of opposition to light rail expansion, the city has continued to expend massive amounts of taxpayers' money in furtherance of this ruinous project, despite knowing that these funds will be wasted if, as expected, voters approve the ballot initiative. Whereas, by ignoring the tens of thousands of Phoenix residents who have mobilized to stop light rail expansion and deliberately putting taxpayer money at risk, the city is attempting to circumvent the democratic process and stifle the constitutional right of initiative. Whereas the mayor and council, as our elected representatives, have a duty to heed the voices of their constituents and seize all spending on and construction of light rail expansion until the voters have exercised their constitutional right to decide this crucial public policy question at the ballot box. Therefore, pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 22 of the Phoenix City Charter, I, Susan Godino, a citizen and resident of the City of Phoenix, hereby petition the City Council to consider and enact within 15 days a resolution, ordinance, or measure that immediately and fully terminates the appropriation or expenditure of any public funds derived from any source in connection with the expansions of light rail transit described in Proposition 104 from 2015 until the earlier of 1, the August 27, 2019 citywide election, or 2, entry of a final court judgment inclusive of any appeals enjoining the qualification of initiative measure I-4-2018 for the election ballot, submitted this 20th day of March 20, 2019.
Thank you. Next card is Bennett Elson. Yeah. Yes, it's public comment.
I think it would be great if City Council would direct your AV staff to put a camera downstairs so that you can see the people that are downstairs, because I feel like a real second-class citizen when I'm sitting down there because this is full. And if you ask who's here in favor, and wave our hands down there, and you can't see us, so you don't know.
Duly noted.
The second thing is, because you got two great monitors there where you could watch. The second thing is the issue that's already passed with Country Club. I think it would be great if City Council made a suggestion to the Country Club that they look at their business plan because it's sorely in need of updating. And I'm sure that your decisions weighed, because it's a historic place, weighed on their current financial situation, weighed into that decision. But are you aware that it was prior to 2009, some female members of the club sued them because they weren't allowed in certain areas. And I think they lost when they got to Superior Court. And then 2009, the Attorney General, Terry Goddard, sued them for discrimination under Arizona statutes. and got a consent decree with them where they decided not to do that anymore. So, you know, that's the mindset you're working with. They need to change that. Arizona Country Club seems to be doing just fine. Phoenix Country Club needs to make some changes if they're going to continue to exist and quit looking for a handout from the rest of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the cards we have. We're adjourned.